What's the big deal with sanctions and why is it so bad when the United States does it? I want to talk about some myths around sanctions and why they're so absolutely devastating. So the first myth I've often heard is when a country's targeted by sanctions, well, what's stopping it from just, trading with others? So for instance, the United States has an embargo against Cuba. What's stopping Cuba from just trading with literally the other roughly 200 countries in the world? The thing is, when the United States engages in sanctions against a targeted country, it also uses what are called third-party sanctions. Third-party sanctions are just sanctions that are used against any other country that tries to trade with the targeted country. And the United States is able to impose penalties through a variety of means. So for instance, just take a random country, let's say Spain. If Spain wanted to trade with Cuba, well, the United States could do a bunch of things to stop it from doing so. First of all, the United States could restrict access to the US dollar to the whole country of Spain. This is devastating because, of course, the US dollar is still the dominant currency that's used for international trade. The second thing it could also do is any company that is profiting from this trade, it could actually freeze the assets of that company. The United States is able to do this because it controls many of the financial institutions across the world. And third and finally, any individual who works for one of these companies or is trying to promote trade or anything of that sort, that person could also face, for instance, travel restrictions. So for all these reasons, most countries do actually not end up trading with the targeted country. That leaves the targeted country isolated, leading to many significant problems. This segues to my second point, which is I think a lot of people see sanctions as, this alternative to warfare. When you want a country to do something or stop doing something, sanctions are seen as quote-unquote a more peaceful diplomatic way to exert pressure. The truth of the matter is sanctions can be absolutely devastating. So for instance, with the Gulf War in the early 90s, when the United States-led coalition stopped Iraq from taking over Kuwait, there were a variety of sanctions imposed on Iraq from the United States and the so-called global community. And as a result, by some estimates, roughly 1 million people in Iraq actually ended up dying. You see this all across the world. Whenever there are sanctions, there are people who are no longer able to get food, no longer able to get medical supplies, unemployment becomes rampant, and there's all of these problems. Now, the one silver lining, and what's kind of ironic about this, is if the United States engages in all these sanctions, what's stopping from all the countries that are sanctioned from just working together and trading with each other and developing their own global economic system? Well, we're actually starting to see that right now. We're seeing, for instance, China, Russia, Brazil, and other countries establish their own banks, own financial institutions, own currencies, and that might become an alternative in the future. But for right now, sanctions are still devastating and are not the alternative they're made out to be. Thank you, like and comment.